Today, I will tell you a story that happened in a small farming community of Las Carolina, Puerto Rico. This story starts in June 1991, when a series of strange events touched the life of a young man named Alex Saldanier. First, I want to make an important disclaimer. I do not claim to have the ultimate truth and do not aim to prove the accuracy or truthfulness of the stories told. It all started with a short post on VK asking to share old English language magazines. Many responded to this request. The number of frightening, inspiring, and just very interesting stories is astonishing and saddening, as most will simply fade away into nothing. That's how the idea for the format Archive of Forgotten Stories was born, where I am the storyteller and only you can decide what's true and what's artistic fiction. And now to Alex's story. At the start of the events, Alex was 18 years old and a big fan of rock music and Satanism. Yes, strangely enough, there are such hobbies. His walls were covered with posters featuring symbols that scared many of his relatives. And as strange as it is, despite his fascination with dark, brooding subculture, Alex didn't forget to pray to God and the Virgin Mary, as instructed by his grandmother and father. In general, Alex was an odd young man, and his hobbies didn't lead to anything positive. Every night before bed, his gaze would stop at the corner of the room, which soon became a source of nightmares for him. For 2 weeks, he had the same dream where a figure dressed all in black, with a black cloak hiding its face, appeared in his room. With each new issue, the figure became more aggressive. It approached the young man, lifted his legs, and with all its might slammed them against the bed. Then the figure disappeared and Alex woke up in cold sweat. These events could be attributed to the impressionable psyche of a young person. The figure could be part of a waking prophecies. After all, it is simple and similar. So, voices, dark figures, labored breathing, or just a series of frightening images. Maybe a consequence of a sleepy afternoon or just a nightmare. Alex also thought these were just terrible dreams until one night he woke up and saw this figure for real. It was around 4 in the morning and he decided that the day had already started. But the figure reappeared, looked at him and kicked him out of bed, just like many times before. Alex panicked, knowing he wasn't dreaming. And just like in his dreams, the figure vanished. During the day, anticipating the night visitor, the young man was terrified and exhausted by the horror. Alex told his father everything about the apparitions, the nightmares, and how the entity came to him. History is silent on whether the father believed his son or not, but nevertheless, the father gave him a small statue of the Virgin Mary, which Alex placed it on the windowsill next to the bed. But what? She decided to start with a prayer. He asked God to protect him and to protect him. Maybe it was the soul after the prayer, or maybe it was the Virgin Mary figurine, but the night didn't go as planned. Events were speeding up and everything was moving toward a climax for the young man. Alex felt the figure appear again, and this time he was sure that this entity intended to take his soul. Alex tried to open his eyes but couldn't, and it felt like 2 hands were tightly pressing them. For some reason, it wasn't scary. This guy seemed to know that these were kind hands, though he couldn't explain how he knew. He developed a firm conviction that they would protect him. Strike. The noise and sounds of furniture turning over echoed above him, and Alex realized this was a real battle for his soul. The sounds lasted about a minute, and then his eyes were freed from invisible hallucinations. The silence and sense of peace for Alex meant that the nightmares had ended, and they would leave him alone. The young man believes that the true figure was an evil spirit, or maybe even pure evil. Maybe even by Satan himself, who was after his soul because of his interest in Satanism. He thanked God and the Virgin Mary for the salvation. Thus ended this mystical story that left a mark on the life of Alex Saldanier, and perhaps influenced his entire future life. If you enjoy this story and format, give it a like and subscribe. Well, I say goodbye and see you soon, friends, in the forgotten stories of our archive.